Hello and welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Well, Janet Yellen just said that she, and I quote here, she regrets calling inflation transitory back in 2021. You just can't make that up. The Treasury Secretary says that she probably should not have said that something that impacts millions of Americans would be transitory without fully understanding the issue at hand. Fed Chair Jerome Powell used the same terminology many times before and well into 2022, and he has yet to admit his mistake. So is it a little too late for Janet Yellen to make that admission? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Janet Yellen gave an interview to Fox Business this week, and you will find the most interesting parts of that interview over on my Substack this Friday in my weekly recap post. Those clips are copyrighted and I can't post them on YouTube. But in her interview, Yellen said many interesting things, including that you should not expect inflation numbers to decline month over month as you logically would expect. Yellen says that's not how it works at all. So if you're waiting for inflation to show declines, now you know that those expectations are just silly. Yellen said, quote, "I wouldn't expect this to be a smooth path month to month, but the trend is clearly favorable." We will look at the trend in just a minute as well. This new interview comes roughly about a month after her previous interview, in which Yellen declared that the United States economy had reached a soft landing. If we take a look at the numbers, CPI reports for January and February both show that inflation has been increasing. According to the official report released by the Department of Labor on March the 12th, February core inflation reading advanced 0.4% in February versus an increase of 0.3% a month prior to that in January. Shelter and gasoline prices contributed the most to the monthly increase, accounting for more than 60% of that jump. If we look at the latest inflation reading on a year-over-year basis, we will see that it rose 3.2%, more than the 3.1% pace expected and more than 3.1% increase a month prior. But if you annualize the current rate of inflation, that's where you will be shocked. You will see that CPI is actually rising at a rate of 5.4%. It's far from being good news, despite what Janet Yellen believes and what she says. So with that being said, inflation is back and consumers see it very well. According to the latest February survey of consumer expectations that was released by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. It is a monthly survey. U.S. consumers say that their inflation expectations increased. The median expectation for inflation rose to 2.7% from 2.4% in the prior month, as the 5-year outlook expectation rose to 2.9% from 2.5% previously. Their expectations for household income growth remained unchanged at 3.1%. At the same time, and this is really bad news, U.S. consumers now say that their expectations for household spending have increased too. In addition to that, they admit that credit access has tightened and they do expect it to get even worse in the next year. Now, U.S. consumers also see a greater probability of losing their jobs in the year ahead. As consumers hit record levels of credit card debt and the economy is showing signs of slowing down without a doubt, what's driving inflation? Well, it's the out-of-control government spending that fuels inflation in the United States. According to the Treasury Department, U.S. deficit in February alone was higher than all receipts combined. The U.S. government spent $296 billion more than it earned in February alone. It spent more than double what it collected, in other words. The government's fiscal 2024 year-to-date deficit is second highest ever. It's now at $828 billion versus $723 billion for the comparable period last year, back in 2023. Back when the United States wasn't funding two wars at the same time, just one then. Here's Blackstone CEO Steven Schwarzman saying that the United States is not prepared for 4 more years of Bidenomics, running trillion-dollar deficits and millions of illegal migrants invading America as the national debt to GDP ratio is going higher and higher. Watch.
We've now got $2 trillion deficits with no end in sight. We've got our debt to GDP going up. We've got open borders with 8 million people coming over. I don't know that the country, frankly, is prepared for 4 more years of that, because those things all poll very negatively. So I can't really project, what would happen.
So to sum this up, inflation is not going anywhere. The Federal Reserve will likely cut interest rates around June because it is the election year. And even though Fed Chair Jerome Powell did say that Fed's actions and decisions are not political, we know very well that the real world works differently. Inflation is likely going to continue increasing as government spending increases as the result of sending billions of dollars overseas to fund the wars that competent diplomacy could have ended by now, saving hundreds of thousands of lives in Ukraine and in Gaza. That's my take on these recent numbers and events. Leave me a comment below and let me know what your take on this is. I would love to hear from you. As always, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for joining me today. Please show your support. It truly does go a long way. Give this video a thumbs up, consider sharing it, and subscribe both on Rumble and YouTube. You will find my social links in the video description below. I would love to have you back tomorrow for my next one. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.